Every time I post a video with this guitar, I get at least a dozen comments asking what kind it is. So many of you ask about this guitar all the time. I would definitely go as far as saying it is my favorite guitar, but especially my acoustic guitars, which I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more of. This one all around is my favorite. But this video is not just about this guitar. It's about my very weird collection of eclectic acoustics. Collection of eclectic acoustics. Collection of eclectic acoustics. That sounds like I was going to say that sounds like something that would be on a t-shirt, but that's not true. That would make a terrible t-shirt. There's a reason I pick weird guitars over great guitars. With the exception of this is my great guitar. I'm going to show you every single one of them and tell you why I like them. Starting with my favorite, this one, because it's so well-rounded and perfect for every situation, and ending with the weirdest one, the quirkiest one. My other favorite one, the one that you're going to wish you had but you can't get because we found it on a fluke at a thrift store. Speaking of guitars you wish you had, this Gibson, the one that you're always blowing my comment section up about. Let me blow your mind real quick. I have another one and you can win it. I'm giving it away. Giving it away, like giving it to you. I've partnered with a veteran-owned small business, GetEnteredToWin.com, to give you the chance to win this. Any of my videos that you've seen and you thought, that guitar sounds amazing, this one sounds just like it. It's the same thing and you can win it. This one's mine. This one's yours. I'm kind of jealous. I'm going to keep both of them and tune one to standard and one to dadgat, but I'm just going to give it away instead. All you have to do is click the link in the description, go to GetEnteredToWin.com/Wilkes, buy a limited edition collectible, and it will enter you to win this Gibson SJ-100. Either way, you get a cool limited edition collectible, but let's be honest, all you care about is winning this thing. You can enter as many times as you want to increase your odds of making this guitar yours. If I were you, I would enter at least once. Not only will you be getting that limited edition collectible and possibly this guitar, you will actually be helping another small business, this guy, grow their channel and make more music. As you know, it costs a lot of money to make music, to record, to put it out. All those things are expensive. This is one way that you could support what I'm doing to enable me to make more content, make more music, take more time to write more songs, produce more songs, put more songs out, put out more tutorials, give away more guitars. Go get yourself entered, get you a collectible, hopefully get you a guitar, and help out me and another veteran-owned small business. This is a Gibson SJ-100. It's a remake of the 1941 SJ-200. So why do I like this guitar so much? First off, it sounds huge. But not only is it gigantic when you play with the pick, it also has this incredible ability to be very nuanced and mellow when you're, say, finger picking. A lot of people, when you talk about big jumbo Gibsons, they go straight to the Gibson J45. And there's a good reason. A J45 is an incredible guitar. It's iconic. It sounds amazing. It's got that classic big jumbo Gibson sound, as this one does. I have zero bad things to say about a J45. It's quite possibly the perfect guitar in a lot of ways. Why do I like the SJ-100 better? One reason. I prefer things that are unique over things that are staples. A J45 is a staple guitar. An SJ-100 is a little more under the radar. And I like under the radar type things. When I play live with this thing, when I post videos online, no matter what I do, if this guitar is involved, so many people ask me what it is. What is that? That's not a J45. What is that? So I like that about it. It's the same reason I drive a 1962 Bel Air station wagon rather than a Honda Civic. I like things that are a little more on the quirky side. And this is a little more on the quirky side. But even though it's a little quirky and it's a little different, it sounds amazing. A lot of things you get, especially musical instruments that you can get, they're a little different, have some weird thing about them that you have to embrace. People will say things like, that guitar is amazing. It does that one thing really well. Or it has that one little quirky thing that I love and it's nothing like any other guitar and it's very distinct sounding and all those things. This guitar is distinct sounding, but it's not so distinct that you can only use it for a couple of things. It's very well rounded. It fits just about any scenario. In my opinion, for what I do, you can't beat it. I play a lot by myself, me and an acoustic. I have a couple stomp pedals for some percussion things, but for the most part, I'm having to fill out the entire sonic space between my voice and my guitar. If I played a Martin or a Taylor or a Guild or any other fill-in-the-blank amazing acoustic guitar, they feel a little more narrow. So when I'm by myself, I need to sound as huge as possible. This guitar sounds huge, especially the low end on it. When I'm playing with a decent front of house mix, I don't even need a bass player because the low end on this sounds plenty big enough that it fills the space of where a bass player would be. So especially if you're playing by yourself, a big body Gibson like this SJ-100 is a good move because you can fill a room with sound just by yourself. I've made videos talking about this before, about the fact that I tuned to DADGAD. Even though I play in DADGAD, it sounds amazing in standard too. If I remember right, Gibson made these between 2012 and 2014, somewhere around in there. It was definitely only a couple years. If you really want to find one, you can, but they're not easy to find at all. You can go to Reverb and find a few of them on there probably, but most people I know that have came across one and got one or got it new don't get rid of them. Once they're in their collection, they're in their collection forever. This one is never going away. They're on Reverb priced anywhere from $2,500 to $5,500, typical range being around $4,000. So they're not the cheapest guitar ever, but they're also not the most expensive guitar ever. If you were looking to make a purchase for a decent amount of money on a very well-rounded, incredible, keep it forever, sounds amazing forever, never regret it acoustic guitar, buy an SJ-100 or get yourself entered to win this one. Next up is my Martin. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I don't know the model number. I looked in the sound hole just now and there's not one. There's no serial number on the back of the headstock. I don't know. I know it is the cheaper model. It's probably one of the cheapest models of a Martin you can get because I know the front is wood and the back and the sides are plastic. The whole point of this thing is I like quirky, weird guitars and my collection of guitars is strange. I told you they're going to get stranger and end on my weirdest one. And you might be thinking this is just a Martin. It's not that weird. Here's what makes this Martin unique. It's broke. Right here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a crack that goes from here all the way down. There it is. Look at that. Look at that crack. So there's a crack there. There's a crack on the back. It's just real rough. Somebody gave it to me and I think they had left it in the attic, just in the case for a couple of years. It just did a number on it. But I'm not going to get it fixed because I like the way it sounds. It sounds kind of crappy. It sounds good, but it doesn't sound great. But for recording guitars, I personally either want it to sound incredible and amazing on its own, like my Gibson, or I want it to fill a very particular space and have a sound to it that's not very textbook. This guitar, when I record with it, you can kind of tell if you really have an ear for acoustics. You could probably pick out the fact that it's a Martin, but you would think something's a little weird about that Martin. It's EQ'd a little bit strange, or there's like a gate on it to where it's not ringing out as long as it should. There's something a little off about it, and that's what I like about it. It sounds a little off. All of my favorite recordings, not just of mine, but all of my favorite recordings in general of my favorite artists, most of my favorite songs of theirs have something about them that's a little weird. Every instrument doesn't sound perfectly balanced. There's some things in there that sound a little left field. This Martin is kind of a classic Martin, but it's a little left field because it's broke. But I use this guitar a lot as the second guitar, so I'll track with my Gibson, say on the left side, and then I'll track the same thing with this Martin and I'll pan it to the right, and it has this cool back and forth because this one is a little strange. Hear how it sounds a little pointy in the mid-range, but it also sounds a little flat. That kind of like sitting on the front porch with your grandpa playing songs kind of thing. It sounds very, I don't know, backwoodsy. So if you ever see a guitar somebody's got for sale for cheap that's broke, not broke like unplayable, but it's broke in some way, buy that joker. Speaking of Martins, next up is my mini Martin. It's a Martin LX1 Little Martin with a solid spruce top. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know much about my guitars as far as specs. All I care about is what they sound like and the vibe that they have. Typically, what's the quirky thing that they do, what wood they're made of, where they were made, when they were made, all that stuff. I really don't care. All I care about is what does it do? What does it sound like? I picked up this mini Martin for $75 with a little gig bag. We were going on a trip to Ireland and I didn't want to go to Ireland without having a musical instrument with me because, I mean, I'm a red-headed musician. I can't go to Ireland and not take an acoustic with me. But I also didn't want to take up a bunch of space in the plane, so I went and got this little Martin. I expected to resell it when I got home, to be honest with you, but I kept it because it does this really cool mini guitar sounding thing. Obviously, it doesn't have much body to it at all. It's kind of weird to play. One of the things I like about it is the fact that it feels different than a regular guitar, so it feels a little bit foreign, not quite like a ukulele. Sometimes to get myself out of my comfort zone when I'm writing or recording, I need something that feels a little more unfamiliar to get me to do something that I typically wouldn't do. This thing provides that, does something in my brain that makes me play different things than I would play on a full-size Martin. Might not be that way for you, but it is that way for me. I don't really know how to describe what the thing is that it does that I like. I just like something about the way it sounds. One downside to it, probably because I haven't had it set up ever. It's in tune on some chords, and it's out of tune on other chords. It's relatively in tune currently. In a recording, that doesn't really bother me, especially for something that's going to be kind of in the background. I like for things to be a little wonky sometimes. If I've got an acoustic left and acoustic right, instead of doing like a mandolin or something, I might play the same part with this and then tuck it kind of far back in the center. It just provides a cool character, and I think it's worth having for $75 or whatever I paid for this thing. Next up is my Takamine. This is the first guitar that I ever bought new with my own money around 2001 maybe. I went in thinking that I was going to get a Martin. I played this one, and something about this one just kind of, I hate to sound artsy fartsy and say it spoke to me, but something about it spoke to me. It kind of has a scooped thing. I've played probably a dozen of these, and the other 11 that I played sounded nothing like this one. They all sounded really cheap and crappy. This one sounds kind of cheap and crappy, but in a cool way. I don't know if they got something right with this one when they made this particular one, or if they got something wrong with it. Either way, it came out to be something that I really like. The model number is EAN10CX. I don't know. I bought it new. Obviously now it's got a big hole right here. It's got another hole developing up here. Well, there's another one. It's got a Willie Nelson kind of thing going on, I guess. This thing's going all over the world with me. It's been on so many records, more times than I can count. I've been in huge live rooms, and the producer will hand me a J45 or a D28, and I'll play through it with both of those, and then I'll say, can I give it a shot on my Takamine? Every time the producers have said something like, that Takamine does something that I like better in this recording. I can't really define it. I don't really know what it is. It just has a thing that it does that I like. And none of the producers I've worked with over the years have really been able to pinpoint it either. It's just got a thing. I lost a couple tuning pegs on it one time, and I found these silver ones, I think in my garage, and I just put them on there. So it's kind of a Frankenstein. Here's a fun fact. This is the first solo show I ever played by myself in 2012, somewhere around in there. I've been a band guy my entire career. I'm solo these days, but in 2012, I forced myself to play one by myself because it scared me. This is my set list. I left this on there to remind myself that I used to be terrified to play by myself. Now I'm not. This guitar reminds me that I've come a long way. If you ever see one of these out somewhere, strum it a few times, because the guy probably is only going to want a couple $100 for it max, and there's a really good chance it might do something super cool like this one does. You can't have a bunch of acoustic guitars and not have a weird old 12 string. Technically, this is an 11 string right now. One of them broke yesterday. This was actually my dad's guitar. Pretty sure my mom either bought it for him as a wedding gift or anniversary gift or something. It's a Yamaha FG 420-12, made in Taiwan, Republic of China. It looks pretty cool. It's a complete and utter nightmare to tune. I don't even have to describe why I like to have a 12 string laying around, because it does this quirky thing which is called being a 12 string. They're just weird. This one's pretty hard to play. It's got a really fat neck. I think it's warped a little bit. It's kind of like my Mini Martin. It's in tune some places and it's out of tune other places because it's not set up. I just can't bring myself to go have 8 acoustic guitars set up when most of them are just providing quirk for recordings. So I just kind of leave it that way and deal with it. This thing adds so much undeniable character to a recording. It's not even funny. If I want something to sound unique, all I have to do is put this thing in there in any format, any EQ situation, any amount of compression, reverb, pan to the left, pan to the right, pan to the middle. It doesn't matter. If you put a 12 string in a recording, it's going to make a statement, especially if you tune your 12 string to dadgad like I do. old Yamaha 12 string made in Taiwan. Another example of something that's not very desirable. It's one that you would never buy. Just like every single one of my other guitars, most of these are the guitars that you would look over. Don't look over the weird guitars. Buy the weird guitar. Look over the guitar that everybody wants. Don't buy the one that sounds like everybody else. Buy the other one that sounds weird. Weird is interesting, and interesting is cool, and cool is popular. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's more fun at least. Here's where it starts getting pretty strange. This is a Washburn. Nobody owns a Washburn acoustic on purpose. Now, maybe you do. Maybe they're pretty good and I don't realize it. I don't want to talk junk about Washburn. Maybe they're good. In my experience, I haven't experienced a great one. It does say #1 acoustic guitar award though. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the #1 acoustic guitar, according to that sticker. So this is a Washburn WCG-18CE. Either way, it's not a great guitar. It has a Fishman pickup in it, which I wouldn't have. Ooh, it's got a tuner. I didn't know it had a built-in tuner on it. I've never plugged it up before. It probably sounds terrible. The cool thing about this guitar is it's my Nashville tuning guitar, which means I've taken the 6 high strings of a 12 string and strung this guitar with them. Why would you want an acoustic guitar with the top 6 strings of a 12 string? Sometimes I record with it by itself because it has this, it's kind of a sitar meets acoustic thing, but mainly what I use it for is I'll play something with, say, my Gibson or my Takamine or my Martin, and I'll pan it to the left, and then I play the exact same thing with this guitar and pan it to the right, and it sounds like a 12 string, except with half the strings on the left, half the strings on the right. It's like a 3D 12 string. That's really the only application it's good for, but it's a really cool application. So it's definitely worth picking up a cheap acoustic somewhere so you can do that recording trick because it sounds awesome. If you want an example, I can make one for you in a different video. Just let me know in the comments if you want to hear it. The Eagles did it a bunch. You can hear it on a lot of their records, but drop a comment, let me know you want to hear it, and I'll make a video. This guitar sucks, but it's awesome. This is my K Parlor guitar. We got this thing at a thrift store for, I don't know, $15. It says model number K105, American Heritage Series. So this is a K American Heritage Series, K105. Who cares? It's a really little old Parlor guitar that sounds super weird. So here's the thing about this guitar. It's almost impossible to get in tune, super impossible to get it to stay in tune. I mean, it'll stay in tune for maybe 8 bars. It's just got 5 strings on it right now, but I don't care for the application I use it for. It doesn't matter. It's borderline unusable for how you would use a typical acoustic. But the way that I use it is strictly as a production candy element. When I have a track that's almost finished, verse 2 needs some random thing, then I'll get this guitar and just do something. That doesn't sound good, but it sounds unique. It kind of has like, that almost sounds like chop suey. I have no idea what those chords are. Point is, it has a unique thing that it does, and sometimes that can be used to fill a production hole, add some production candy, or you can play a main lick or double a lead line or some main hook of the song with something weird like this, and it provides this texture that's really unique and will set your song apart and be instantly recognizable. Coldplay does it all the time. Here's an example of another way I might use this guitar. If I'm riding and I need something to kind of loop around, I might just put down a little weird lick with this guitar. Like, I don't know what that is, but it sounds unique and it sounds memorable because it's played on something weird. That's why I love this guitar and these types of guitars. Anytime I see an old Parlor guitar or an old acoustic that's cheap, like $15 cheap, I buy it. It can be put to use way more often than you think it would be. Last but not least, here's my favorite weird guitar that I own. Not my favorite guitar. My favorite guitar is that Gibson for obvious reasons. This is my favorite weird guitar. It has a sticker on the inside. It says something high quality musical instruments. Starts with a W. There's probably information on it online, but it's called The Prep. It has it written right there. The Prep. I think it's an old student guitar of some sort. I do know that it's from the 30s. When I got it, it had 5 nylon strings on it. Now it has 3 nylon strings. Actually, I lied. 2 nylon strings and a steel string. So I don't know how that happened. But this is the quirkiest, weirdest little guitar. It makes me feel challenged and inspired just by holding it. Because it's such a unique guitar and because it's from the 30s, just knowing so many people have held it and tried to play with it, it doesn't play good at all. Nobody has seriously played this guitar ever, probably. It's just such a weird little thing, but I love it. My favorite thing to do with this guitar is pull it out of the closet or wherever it's at and just play it how it sits. I actually posted a video not too long ago of me finding this guitar after after I forgot I had it for a while and just playing a Coldplay song on it with it tuned as it was when I pulled it out. That was about a month ago. And it's the same. It's held whatever tuning that was. It sounds like Indian. This guitar serves kind of the same purpose as that last Parlor guitar, to where it's strictly a character thing. I would never be like, ooh, I need to lay down an acoustic guitar. Let me get my old The Prep. That's never that situation. It's always something weird needs to go here. Get the 3-string Prep out. Or just like that last guitar, it can serve as being the quirky, memorable hook holder instrument. As it's tuned right now, this would be an example of how I might use this guitar. I could build a track off of... It doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound amazing. It sounds bad, but it sounds bad in the best way. I have some cool guitars. I've got a 65 335 right there that's awesome. I do have legitimately cool, great instruments, but the bulk of my instruments are weird and quirky, and they have a very particular application. So I would encourage you, when you're trying to beef up your collection of guitars, don't go out just looking for the best Martin, the best Taylor, the best Les Paul, the best Strat, the best Telecaster. Go find some weird stuff. Get some stuff that's really good. I have my Gibson. I have my 335. I've got a Gretsch over there that's super cool. I've got some great instruments that work perfectly all the time. They fill multiple applications and they can be used on any recording. I have those kind of things because you need those kind of things. But really, to set your recordings apart and to set your playing apart, it'd be a big favor to yourself to go out and buy some cheap stuff, some weird stuff. Stuff with 3 strings, 2 nylon strings and a steel string, a 12 string with an extra little bend on it. Go buy some weird stuff, take it home, and just play it and see what happens. I guarantee you will write some songs and create some things that you never thought you would, because it was inspired by the quirky nature of the instrument. My motto when it comes to this kind of thing is, if it'll make noise, it'll make music. Anything that'll make noise, you can make music with it. And sometimes if it doesn't sound the most musical out of the gate, it makes the best music at the end of the day, because it makes you be more creative. I have to be so much more creative with this thing than I would a Martin D28. The Martin's going to sound amazing out of the box. This sounds weird. You got to make it sound good and you got to do something cool with it. Don't forget this guitar that you're always asking about. We bought another one and you can win it. Go to getenteredtowin.com/Wilkes. Pick up that limited edition collectible and get entered to win this thing. If I were you, I'd be calling my mama and all my grannies and say, you want to enter for me? And I'd rack those jokers up, because whoever wins this guitar is going to be blown away by it when they get it. Trust me, that's what happened to me. Thank you for watching. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Let's have a conversation. See you later.